All right, we'll call to order the Town of St. Andrews regular council meeting on Monday, March the 2nd, 2026 at 6:30 PM in the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in the council chambers. Everyone is present except for Councillor Bennett. He's absent. We have the planners here as well, Alexander and Alex, so thank you for coming. And staff and visitors. And we'd like to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskotomakati people under the Logwistagway people until we're recognized in Canada. Approval of the agenda. I need a mover for the agenda. Deputy Mayor Neal, seconded by Councillor Harland. Any additions or removals? No? Okay, ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Okay. Any disclosure of the conflict of interest tonight? Not seeing any. Presentations, we have Mr. Menton, who is going to present to us tonight. So, Mr. Menton, this is your time to shine. You have 10 minutes, Mr. Menton, so just want you to know that.
Opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Don Menton, and my wife, Jenny, and I have owned Shamcook Forest Lodge since 1989, 37 years, exactly half of my lifetime. Just realized that today. The purpose of this presentation is to present a vision. My experience with social development, a lot of the time that when people are discussing things, the differences oftentimes are accounted for by the differences in vision. So what example I'd like to be able to use is if two people walk down the town wharf and one faced towards Deer Island and the other faced towards Maine. If the person facing Maine tried to describe what they're saying or seeing, the person facing the other direction like they have a hard time understanding. So the solution is that both people be facing in the same direction. And that is sort of what I would like to be able to do tonight. But the vision I'm presenting is my vision. A vision of people is very much influenced by their previous experience. And among my previous experiences has been tourism, biology, natural resource conservation, and international development, and experience in Europe. So therefore, what I'm going to be presenting will be a reflection of much of that. And before I get going any further, I'd like to thank Chris Spear, the town manager, for the financial data in this presentation, and with Chris McKinnon, his clerk, for formatting the PowerPoint. Okay, let's get going. Go ahead. Oh, you missed the first one. No, go back. There we are. So what we're talking about tonight is the Atlantic Salmon Federation Welcome Center, which is currently for sale. And I'm presenting this from the point of view as being a heritage property. Go ahead. So in order to people to be able to know the location, it's 7.8 kilometers from the center of town. And the real estate description indicates that it's a streamside woodlot, approximately 9.5 acres in size. It's the entire Shamcook stream flowing from the lake down to the ocean. And there are 3 major buildings and a large shed. Right? Go ahead. So in this case here, this is a zoom in on the property. You'll be able to see the pit in detail. It's on Lake Shamcook, and the town dam, which controls the water levels within the lake, are located just above it. Sortie, which is the St. Andrews Outdoor Recreation and Trails Group, recently purchased the land on the left in the green as part of the Van Horn Heritage Trail, and the red is referring to the dam, which from my understanding is going to be requiring some maintenance attention in the future. Okay, this is the government assessment of the property, $1.5 million, and the MLS asking price is just under $900 to $1,000. So you notice there's a bit of a difference, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, next. So these are the buildings. And from this, I would like to be able to work with two themes. One is community, and the second one is tourism. And for community, community requires relationships, and tourism requires experience. So we'll see here the two topics. So we'll focus on the one on the left, which is dealing with community. This facility would be excellent for family meetings, for birthday parties, also for weddings. I've seen weddings there on the shore of the stream that goes through. It's an indoor potential for indoor recreation, for dancing, for gymnastics, and for outdoor recreation, because the Van Horn Heritage Trail goes right beside it and access up onto Lake Chamcook. It also has all-weather road access for parking, and when the trail is, if the trail is developed, it's a means for people to be able to park their vehicles, come into St. Andrews, and ride their bicycles into town, either on the trail or along the paved shoulders of Highway 127. The Experience Center here, there's 3 buildings listed in the real estate description. There's a recreational hall, which could be used for a community center. It's unique in the fact that it's got cathedral ceilings. It has been a well-used recreation facility for weddings, and I'm proposing also for birthday parties and for meetings. It has kitchen facilities as well as washrooms. And if anyone has any questions while I'm making this presentation, just raise your hand, and I don't mind stopping for a second. One of the other buildings is proposed as a meeting hall. It's a 2-story building. You can see that the interior is beautiful wood finishing all the way through. Go ahead. Okay, the next. And what's very unique about this property is the post and beam construction. Many people, when it comes to post and beam, they use nails and bolts, but in this case here, they use wooden pegs. It's a traditional way of doing it, and it's rare to be able to see this in southern New Brunswick. Okay, so now we can move on to the Nature Experience Center. In this, the freshwater stream flows from Lake Chamcook and goes down to the ocean. It has the potential for viewing of salmon and trout in their wild migrations. It also has a trail along the side of the stream that goes right under Highway 127 down to the marine site. The Department of Transportation, when they upgraded the highway in 127, I believe in 1991 or so, put in this huge facility that people could walk under it. I'm sure most people aren't aware of it. There's also potential with migratory species coming up, and I'll talk about that a little more, for a spawning channel. And, okay, next one then. So currently it has been shown as a wild salmon nature center, and it's been promoted this way. The architectural design is very unique. Go ahead.
Can I interrupt for half a second? Your Worship, Mr. Minton's only got 2 minutes left, and he's less than a third of the way through the slides. So, I guess we need to know if you can allow him to extend a bit. Sorry, Flo. He's got quite a bit left. I just need to know if you're going to let him
I
to
can move along a little faster if you
Oh, it's
want.
going to have to be a lot fast. I don't want to cut you off, though, Don. I just want to see what
Well, I want to
council's
respect your time as well.
Okay.
Okay, so in this photograph, you could see the stream goes all the way from Lake Shamcook all the way down to the ocean. It's all on this one property. The next one. The stream here, the stream here is populated by a variety of local fish. The major ones that are of interest are the Atlantic salmon, and there is potential for brook trout as well. Currently, there is an aquarium in there that allows people to be able to see the fish in the stream, but I don't have a picture of it. And with the description from the real estate, that wasn't mentioned, so I'll just say that it's there. So this freshwater stream is entering, like I said, from from Lake Shamcook. And historically, salmon would have migrated up this stream into Lake Shamcook, but all of that has been blocked by the construction of the dam. So this freshwater stream, the dam is scheduled, from what I understand, for renovation in the near future. And if that is going to be done, the whole stream could be improved to be able to allow for a viewing of wild fish in the channel. And I've seen this being used out in British Columbia, and in the spawning season, it's a great attraction. Okay, the freshwater stream dam is scheduled for renovation, and if at the same time there was a construction of a fish ladder, this would allow species like the Atlantic salmon and so on to be able to return to the lake. Go ahead. The other thing was about this tourism walkway that goes right under Highway 127. There is a trail built along the side of the stream that needs renovation. But I don't believe there's another facility in the province that allows people to be able to walk from a freshwater lake right down to the ocean like what is available at this location. With the fish generally migrate and spawn either in the spring or in the fall, and these are in the shoulder seasons when we would like to be able to attract more tourism visitors to the area. Also, with this trail being this property being right on the edge of the Van Horn Heritage Trail, if the dam was renovated and they put a good bridge on the top of it, it would be a means for people to be able to access the trail and move into town. In terms of a tourism attraction, this program right here with Explore St. Andrews has been very popular the last few years, advertising both Kingsbury Gardens and the Huntsman Marine Science Center and Ministers Island all together. And with this property that I'm proposing in Shamcook, it could be the fourth attraction. They all fit in very well together. Okay, so in terms of the purchase and the management of this property, there's the tourism accommodation levy and a trust fund that I'd like to discuss. The tourism accommodation levy has had money coming in since 2020. You have a little table here, and table doesn't really show much more. Table shows lots of numbers, but the summary of it all is that Explore St. Andrews has brought in $1.7 million in this time period. That's a lot of money. And the town of St. Andrews has brought in just about $900,000. Again, a lot of money that tourists are bringing into this community with the accommodation that they're having. But these tourists are looking for experience. Go ahead. Currently, 67% of the revenue that comes in is going to Explore St. Andrews, and the 33% goes to the town of St. Andrews. And you can see here with the income that has come in over the last 6 years, well, certainly in the last 2, is that it's a very stable source of income that's going to be going into the future. Next. So when it comes to Explore St. Andrews, this focuses on the promotion of events, activities, and initiatives that promote within the town of St. Andrews prime tourism destination. Go ahead. And with the money that, for example, for the management of this facility, the town already has assets in trust from a variety of different sources, and I'm suggesting that some of that TELB money could be used to set up a similar trust fund for this new facility, so that in the future it would have its own independent financial support. If we look at the proposed municipal plan, Shamcook Stream has been identified as proposed conservation lands. And if we look further, the rural resource expansion area, these lands are proposed not for settlement, but for conservation and industrial uses and non-industrial uses, to preserve it for agriculture, forestry, resource development, recreation, and utility. So the purchase of these lands would fit right in with the proposed.
Don, just 1 minute. Let me take you to 15 minutes. 1 minute left.
Okay. So we move along. So I'm back again to the assessment. So you see the assessment is $1.6 million, and they're asking $900,000. That this property is designed and built for community and tourism use. It's not designed for private residence. The buildings have high heritage value. It would be impossible to build them for this price. The trail culvert underneath the highway is already a huge public investment into this property, and it has great potential value for the community. So these are the two various proposals put together on a graph. Next. Remember how I said community requires relationship? Shamcook is a growing community. It needs for a place to recreate. The facilities are very multifunctional. The major improvements likely are for all-season heating. Tourism requires experience. The buildings are an excellent quality with stream for tourism experiences. Heritage, the traditional post and beam construction, access to Lake Shamcook and Van Horn Heritage Trail, and the coordination with Kingsbury Gardens, Minister's Island, and HMS as a tourism destination property. So, next. So the TELB money could be a source for purchasing and managing this resource. The proposed trust fund will create future operating income. The Bayside Hall, from what I understand, is busy 4 nights of a week. It's well used, and I believe that this similar facility in Shamcook would have similar success. Next. And this is where the international travel comes in. Notice the date, the 31st of January, 2025, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Tourists standing outside in the rain. Notre Dame Cathedral in the wintertime. Interesting thing is that the French Catholic churches are the property of the state, not of the church. And as a result, it is the responsibility of the state to maintain them. We're all very familiar with what happened to Notre Dame and the massive amount of monies that were reinvested. That was done by the state. And why? For heritage value. Tourism requires experience. Next slide. And that concludes my presentation. I'm sorry to be over time, but at any rate, thank you very much. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Menton. Council, any questions? Councilor Harland?
Thank you, Mr. Menton, for a fantastic presentation. We really appreciate, or I really appreciate, the work that you've done putting all of this information together. It certainly has given me some further things to think about. it's in my neighborhood, so I know this facility well, and we were the first ones to get married there, so we know it very well.
Really? And there were 17 weddings that year.
Yes, and our daughter just got married there last summer. I am interested, though, in putting this information together and thinking about what the possibilities would be. Did you consult, or did you have any discussion with Explore St. Andrews or with Huntsman Marine Science?
Well, I mean, I've talked to Chris Spear here, and I understand some of these conversations have already been had. My purpose was just to bring forward my vision,
Okay.
you know. And I'm thinking, you know, anyone who is sharing in the same sort of interest and so on would see common ground.
Mm-hmm.
But no, because I really believe, you know, I want to get the vision out there, let it be discussed, and it's up to you people to invite the various other people and so on to the table.
Great. Well, thank you very much for sharing your vision.
Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Harland. Anyone else? Councillor Gomichelle.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you very much, Don, for coming in and sharing all of your experience and all of your hard work and your vision for this facility. 2 points that really struck with me are the need for some sort of a community center in Shamcook, a place where people can come together, and this certainly fills that. And something that I hadn't considered is how, as a second point, is how this center would fit into the draft municipal plan as preserving green space and all that sort of stuff. Disclaimer: Don and I were on the MV Trails together for many years, so we share trail visions and many hours of driving and spending times together. So we're very much aligned in that regard. But on behalf of everyone, I'm sure everyone appreciates all of your hard work on this, and we will certainly take it under consideration. And you certainly gave us more things to think about. So thank you very much, Don.
Well, thank you. Thank you as well, Kurt.
Anyone else? Well, we appreciate you coming in, Mr. Menton, and giving us the wonderful talk. And as Councillor Gomichelle and Harlan said, that we have things to think about and discuss before the time is over. So thank you again.
And thank you for
Wonderful
giving me a
presentation.
few minutes of extra time.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So approval of the minutes of the previous meetings. The minutes of the 26/02/17 regular council meeting of Monday, February the 17th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. The recommended motion is that the minutes of the 26/02/17 regular council meeting of Monday, February 17th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. be adopted. I need a mover, Councillor Heenan, and a seconder, Councillor Blanchard. Any errors or omissions? Okay, there being none, we will vote. All those in favor of accepting, say aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Second set. Minutes of the 26/02/25 special council meeting on Wednesday, February the 25th, 2026 at 5 p.m. And the recommended motion is that the minutes of the 26/02/25 special council meeting of Wednesday, February 25th, 2026 at 5 p.m. be adopted. Mover, Councillor Harlan, seconder. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Neal. Further discussion? Are any errors or omissions? Okay. All those in favor of accepting them, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried.
I'd have to
I'm sorry.
abstain. I wasn't at the meeting, so I'd have to
Oh,
abstain.
I'm sorry, okay, so
Yeah.
one abstain, which would be Mark. Councillor Blanchard. Okay. Okay, communications, correspondence registers through February 26, 2026 is attached in our package. And then we are now on staff reports. Mr. Spear. Oh, sorry.
Communications.
Yes? Yeah, you gotta put your microphone on, Counselor.
There was an email that came through on speed skating and figure skating. And I realize what's happening with speed skating. When I grew up, I was the only person in town that had a pair of speed skates, so they used to laugh at me. I don't think speed skating has ever caught on in Eastern Canada per se. Figure skating used to be big event or big activity. I think it's gone the way of baseball in some ways, that it's not near as popular as it used to be. But the reason I mention that is we did have an email on it looking for support. Whether we support it or not is irrelevant. But in the response to them, it was stated that Mr. Hanselbecker was the only person in the department, but I distinctly remember last summer going through the process of hiring an assistant for Mr. Hanselbecker. So, you know, the fact that there is or was more than one person in the department, the recreation department, is perhaps a factual thing that should have been maybe explained better to the people. Like I say, I'm familiar with both activities, and my personal thoughts on that I'll just keep to myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Weir. Counselor Gumshoe.
Thank you, Worship. I hate to correct my esteemed colleague, but we had a Olympic bronze medal from right here in New Brunswick, a girl from Moncton just won a medal. So speed skating is not dead in Eastern Canada, but certainly it would be great to have the resources and the leadership to invigorate our program. And I'm sure if you dug out your old skates, we wouldn't laugh. And I'd join you, and we could go try to get the speed skating going again, because we have all the boards and we have the expertise. It's just there seems to be, I don't know, for whatever reason, the speed skating isn't able to sustain itself. The parents, their kids age out and they're out. So we have had, I know Sean Harris was the local coach. I played hockey with Sean, and he's been coaching speed skating since like 1990 or something. I don't even know, forever. And he's getting ready to hang up his old skates. But certainly anything that we could do, utilizing staff or getting the word out or anything to reinvigorate that program, I think would be really key for the arena. And I'd love to see you on your skate sometime. Sorry to correct you.
Thank you, Counselor Gumshoe. And further discussion on the correspondence. Counselor Blanchard? No? You didn't raise your hand. That wasn't your hand raised. Okay. All right. So, sorry. We'll continue on. Sorry, Flo. Now we're on to staff reports.
Happy March, everyone. Hopefully the worst of winter's behind us, because it's been a doozy with another 10 centimeters tomorrow. I probably should have waited that out over the weekend. The temperatures are rising and the sun is definitely stronger as the snow is melting away. The following is a summary of the initiatives of Mayor, Council, and staff. Before you tonight is a motion concerning the first reading of the municipal plan. Staff have put it there to have a wholesome discussion on what next steps Council wants to take. We have already had a few related Council motions on the plan regarding hearing of objections, PAC views, etc. So if you prefer to slow it down for the next Council, tabling it would be more appropriate, in my opinion, than defeating it. Last Wednesday night, Gord Moulon of Fundy Engineering presented an updated wharf assessment plus high-level estimated cost to refurbish. The deterioration of the steel piles have gotten worse with the recommendation that they be part of the first phase, along with beginning to infill underneath the start of the approach to support that structure with the deck replacement in phase 2. They also provide an option for the face of Market Wharf and along the infill portion of the wharf to be constructed with modular block walls made out of cement, but has a design that is more aesthetically pleasing. A common brand name is Ready Rock and can be seen online. That's REDI Rock. If you Google it, you'll get the first hit. They also provided estimates using the traditional wooden seawall, but the installation costs are significantly higher. Before council tonight is an update to the pay structure of town employees. Based on an assessment from 2019, most of the ranges have only been updated by CPI increases since then. We added new positions and those have been included in the updated scale. It also includes separating the CAO treasurer to reflect council's wish to have a full-time treasurer again in the town. Administration. I am pleased to announce that we've hired a local resident for the position of CFO treasurer. She brings several years of experience in accounting in addition to being a longtime resident of St. Andrews. She will take a few weeks to wrap up her current position and will be starting at the end of March. After several years of doing janitorial contracting for the town of St. Andrews, Lucretia and Mark Ferris are relocating, which left a void in our janitorial services. However, I am happy to announce that we have hired a full-time position to replace them. Because of the extra facilities related to tourism and recreation, it makes the most sense to have someone employed internally. With that, we were paying for the contract. The extra cost is minimal. The arena ice will be extended to March 15th to allow for the current users an extra week of playing and game time. We need to begin renovations of the washrooms after that, since it is being completed by Public Works during the in-between seasons of late winter and spring. The auditors will be joining staff this week to complete the 2025 audit. With the election coming up in May, we want to work to have it completed before the elections. Speaking of the elections, we will be working with the RC to put on a session for those interested in becoming a mayor or councillor. We will discuss generalities as it relates to all municipalities in the province, as well as specific duties when serving within your local council. It has been a busy winter for Public Works as we've had several more storms and accumulated snowfall than we had for several years. They have still provided excellent service, but the time spent on plowing and removing snow has been significant, including the amount of salt we have bought to date, which is up $10,000 or 20% compared to the same time last year. In addition to dealing with storms, they have been tackling renovations at the RCMP building and touch-ups to other facilities. The bylaw enforcement officer noted this month that some contractors have been plowing snow onto the sidewalks and roads. While included in our bylaws, this is also an infraction under the Motor Vehicle Act. It is also potentially dangerous as it is blocking either vehicle or pedestrian access and creating a driving hazard. Because of the before-mentioned accumulation, I'm sure it has been a challenge for homeowners, but snow should be kept on your own property as you clear it. The recreation manager has noted in his report that he's had over 2,900 participants in seniors' activities since September. There has been a wide assortment of activities from art to yoga, Ramoli, dance classes, and card games. The library continues to bring in visiting authors to discuss their work and to do readings. Be sure to check in with them occasionally for ongoing events, either in person or on their Facebook page. In conclusion, first of all, a reminder that daylight saving time starts this Sunday, so set your clocks ahead an hour. Someone proofread that and didn't realize. I heard a big groan from them when they're so if people aren't ready for it. Although, side note, BC's adopted full-time. They're changing their clocks today and holding it permanently. March break is also upon us, and several organizations have activities to keep families busy. Review our Recreation Department Facebook page for additional information. Respectfully submitted, Chris Beer, Chief Administrative Officer Treasurer. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. All right. So now we are on the,
Your Worship, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you need to
accept,
the reports. Yep.
we need to accept the reports, but first we need a mover to accept the reports. Counselor Heenan, seconder. Counselor Gomichelle. All those in favor to accept all the reports? Oh, sorry, question? Ready for the question? Oh,
I
you
think
have a
Counselor Weir
question?
had a
You have a
question.
question, Mr. Weir, Counselor Weir, sorry?
Yes, of course.
Okay, sorry.
2 or 3 things, I guess, on the financial report.
Yes.
Was there a particular reason why our insurance company refused the claim for the
It just-
fraudulent payment of $45,000?
It was just, it's not covered. It's an uninsurable claim. I had someone else, not an associated, a lawyer, have a look at it, and he recommended that they made the right call, that under our policy, that type of claim isn't covered anymore.
But I guess my question is, did they do any investigation, or did they just say no right up front?
No, they did investigations. We provided them lots of information. We had lots of information, but they compared the wording to our policy and determined it was an uninsured loss.
I just wondered, and again, blame it on me being an auditor at one time, whether it was a result of the procedures we had in place at that point in time compared to what we have in place now to ensure that these are valid payments.
So it's complicated because it came from 2 ends. And this type of fraud revolving wire, hackers and stuff, is less, is becoming uninsured right across the industry mostly. Combination of, it's something that most places aren't able to completely insure against or prevent against. They can have very high, but it's becoming so common they can't afford the policy premiums in order to offset it.
Okay, and a couple of the things marked here in the financial information. I think one was in the, I can't find the right page, in the medical center. It appears as though the contract may have changed in that this year we have no office expenses. Last year we budgeted over 5,000. And the medical expenses were very minimal this year compared to what we had budgeted. So I guess my question is whether this so-called verbal contract was amended or
No,
what the reason was.
the tenants took it on themselves to keep the cost internal, and that's why in the 2026 budget it was removed.
Okay, thank you. I guess the final thing on the financials is, again, this economic development department seems to be a catch-all, miscellaneous as opposed to economic development, with grants for almost anything being put in there that have nothing to do with economic development. And, I think financial statements should be able to be read by someone with reasonable knowledge, but even with somebody with reasonable knowledge would, I think, wonder at least what this economic development department is. And we're spending grants on,
Well, two things. Number one is the province kind of puts everything in their economic, it is a catch-all, there's no doubt about it, within their reporting scheme and their chart of accounts. It has more or less been a catch-all, but I guess I know you don't particularly like it, but it's never been brought up otherwise. I don't disagree with you, but it's been understood by councillors and citizens. It's the only thing that's made it stand out a bit more recently is because we've had that money set aside for the economic development officer and stuff and different things, and that gives it more of that flavor of economic development. But I mean, we could look at, in the future, rebuilding it. It's really not a big deal. If you want to create a grants and subcategory, I'm okay with that. It's only 10 minutes worth of work.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Anybody else? Councillor Harland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I see that in the St. Andrews Youth Center report, there was an incident, and that there's a request to make all of our municipal buildings scent-free, or not sure.
That's the correct word, yes.
Is it correct?
Yeah, or
Because
that's the common phrase used these days. yeah.
okay, because sometimes it's difficult to make it completely scent-free as opposed to scent-reduced or whatever. I know the hospital uses some different language around it now as well. But, so are we moving ahead with that?
I think so. I'll have to see. But I mean, this particular incident was exposure to someone that was heavily perfumed, as opposed to, say, somebody just wearing normal
Right.
deodorant, say, that has a mild scent. So I think if people just avoid, the stuff beyond deodorants, I guess, when they're coming to town facilities, it'd be greatly appreciated. But that's becoming very common stance across most government facilities these days.
Absolutely, and I think what goes along with that is a bit of a education campaign, right? In terms of saying many people have
Yeah.
sensitivities around scents. And I think that's why maybe we could look at it a little bit, but there is some wording that says scent reduced or something else, I can't
Okay,
quite
we'll
think of it.
research it. The event happened the last couple of weeks, so I won't say word scrambling, but within our own offices and stuff, we certainly respect that we don't have any issues. Even before, we had someone who was extremely allergic on staff.
Yeah.
And so we've always looked to achieve that. Now it's maybe just communicating it a little stronger to the public to make sure
Great.
they understand exactly how important it is. It's
I think it's
not
that's great.
necessarily just a sneezing fit or something. It
No,
can be very
absolutely.
serious.
Yep, great, thank you.
Councillor Heenan.
Yes, just to follow along on Councillor Harland, the issue that you have is, and I've been involved in a couple of times with the scent-free, is you can post it, you can put the sign at the door, you can say this facility is scent-free. But once the person walks in, whether they're turned around or not, the scent is there. So this is a real problem, because in a couple of cases, the damage is done even after they've seen the sign. So the problem is it just has to be known all over that anything in the municipality is scent-free. It's a simple case, because, I mean, I've often sat at, and I'm just going to use it, at Tim Hortons. Someone comes in highly scented, goes through the whole air system immediately. So whether, if they have a sign up that says scent-free or not, as soon as the person walks in, it triggers. And so that's the problem, is catching it before it comes in. Anyway, thank you.
And I think what Councillor Harlan said about educating, we need to have education out there for all the people, for our facilities. Anything else? Okay, so we have a mover for all the reports and a seconder. Did we get that? I didn't write it down. Did we get them? Did we move them and second? Okay. So all those in favor of accepting the reports, say aye. Contrary minded? Carried. All right, so we're moving on to the staff reports, and we come to the first one, which is yours, Counselor Heenan.
Thank you, Your
Finance
Worship.
And Administration.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. Good evening. Reference number FA 260329. First reading of the municipal plan for the Town of St. Andrews bylaw, MP 25-01. The Town of St. Andrews Council and planners have been working on a new municipal plan as required by the province of New Brunswick. The Planning Advisory Committee provided their views received by council at regular council meeting of January the 19th, 2026. A public hearing of objections was held on Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026 at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Theater. An updated draft of the plan was prepared by the planners and provided separately to council, dated February the 24th, 2026. A planning report and feedback summaries are included in the package. Staff is looking for direction from council whether to proceed with the current process of municipal plan and zoning bylaw or defer the project to the next council. If council wishes to proceed in the current mandate, staff recommends granting leave for first reading of the proposed municipal plan. To pause the process, council is asked to move for a first reading, discuss, and move to table the motion until after the election of May the 11th. In the event council chooses to continue the current process, staff is looking for council's wishes regarding a potential second public hearing for municipal plan due to a weather storm at the time of the first meeting. And the action is, Your Worship, that the council grants leave for the first reading by title only of bylaw MP 25-01, the municipal plan for the town of St. Andrews. And Your Worship, I'll move that.
Thank you very much, Counselor Heenan. We need a seconder. Counselor Harland. Discussion?
If I could recommend, don't want to put them on notice, maybe
The
the planners
would like
could
to
talk
speak?
about it a little bit. We'd ask them maybe to be here
Thank you
and
for
speak on
coming.
some of the issues that were raised, if you could give them a few minutes.
Sure.
Well, thank you, Your Worship and Council. So, yeah, we have just a couple little high-level things to kind of touch on the report. So, like, not everybody in attendance would have read or received the whole report. So maybe I'll first turn to Xander, and then if there's specific questions about any of the proposed amendments that respond to the public hearing of objection concerns that were raised, or the PAC's advice to council, we can circle back, and I'm happy to go through anything in the report that I wrote. So if I may, I'll turn it over to
Thank you.
Xander Gopin.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Council and Your Worship. I think just high level, there are some changes. I think they're more seen in the zoning bylaw. We found that a lot of the feedback we heard at the public hearing and in the letters was really pointing to zoning. And so I think a lot of that is reflected in the new draft of the zoning bylaw. There are some changes to the draft of the municipal plan as well, but I think the zoning bylaw is a really important implementation tool of the municipal plan, and a lot of the questions and concerns that people had, there certainly were some with the municipal plan, but a lot with the zoning bylaw. So I think we would encourage council to keep going with the process, and I think at least, I know it's not this specific agenda item, it's possibly later on the agenda, but giving the opportunity to hear feedback on the zoning bylaw, I think would really help council. A few other just higher level things. When we worked on drafting these bylaws, the first thing we did was the background study and background report. And part of that was a survey that went out to every resident in the whole municipality, and we had over 100, I think it was even, might have been close to 200 responses come back. And the objectives in the municipal plan were really structured based on that consultation. And what we heard people really love St. Andrews, and they value a lot of things about the way it is. But there's a serious crisis with affordable housing. We heard that very clearly through the broad public consultation we did. We also heard that people really value how walkable St. Andrews is, and that it actually is really unique in New Brunswick for how walkable it is, how easy it is to get around in the Platte, even outside of the Platte. And I think Mr. Menton's presentation, even you start thinking about that regionally, there's something very special here. And I happened to be at a conference for active transportation and physical activity, and I was talking with the Trevor Hansen, who's kind of the foremost transportation expert in the province, and I happened to be talking about some of the work I was doing, and he said, St. Andrews is amazing. I think he might have even worked with you in the past. Yeah, and he said it's amazing how walkable it is and how you don't need a car in St. Andrews, and that's an amazing thing. And I said, well, you might need a car in the province, but he's working on that. So he was really impressed with the commitment that St. Andrews has had to being a walkable place with really great active transportation. And I think that's something that the municipal plan and zoning bylaw really, really support. And one of the important concepts with active transportation and people being able to use any means to get where they need to go is things have to be close enough. You have to have places to go from places you live. And the municipal plan and the zoning, they really support that, especially in the town Platte. And one of the things we did hear a lot, and it was in the consultations, the broad consultations as well, the architectural heritage, the town Platte, that is really important to people here. So some of the changes in the zoning bylaw, as recommended by PAC, really deal with this, and I think they're quite different from what you would have seen in a previous version of the zoning bylaw. And I finally was able to track down the Parks Canada employee who is kind of he's not responsible for the National Historic Site, but he's done a lot of work here. He understands it very well. And he said the point of the National Historic Site designation is not to stop change and infill development. The street grid is pretty important for this specific one. That original platted grid is a very unique thing. But he said you can certainly have development and apartments and things that infill, and that's not going to affect that designation. So I think we've made some changes. We've gotten I think confirmation on some of the directions we've taken. I also spent a long time talking to the Department of Agriculture at a planning directors meeting, getting a better understanding of their goals and their desires and how they interpret the statement of public interest. And we did make some changes to that as well, to make that a little bit more flexible, make it a little bit more easier. Those are all things really in the zoning bylaw, which brings me back to my first point. I think if council really wants to get a good sense of public feedback on the process, tabling it now, certainly in your prerogative to do so. But I think I think it's very important that the zoning bylaw does now or in the future. I think there's certainly the ability to do it now. If that public hearing can happen, that will give council a lot of information on how to proceed. And this is, if you want the process to continue, I think the motions need to happen tonight, but that doesn't mean you can still, after that public hearing, say, you know what, we've heard from the public and we want to put a pause on this. So I'll leave it there. And Alex, if you want to handle any of the technical points, or back to council.
And just kind of high level here. The zoning bylaw draft, which you have tonight, again, is responding to what you heard at the public hearing objections, and what we heard through the PAC. So there's a kind of two-step process. So like any of these processes, these can be very heated discussions. You're talking about people's land, you're talking about the future. You can't find more important things in the community.
I'm sorry, Alex, can you just turn your mic?
I apologize. Yeah, so you can't find more important things in the community than talk about land and the future. So, of course, these things are going to be very heated. But Xander's saying, just bringing it back to 2024 when consultation began, this process and this framing of this draft, it is very much driven by those community objectives that are at the beginning of that draft. And so one of the things that we heard loud and clear at the hearing was, we can't really understand this document. This document is near incomprehensible. So there's several things that are changed in the draft, which you've seen, and perhaps it's an improvement in the opinion council, and maybe there's still room for improvement. But what we propose to you are not substantive changes. They're fairly simple changes, like making the titles less legalistic and just more plain language. Putting the objectives that are pertinent, especially pertinent, in each of the sections that are talking about specific areas. So tying back the values of the community to the actual content of the plan. Because I feel like when you have those reader sections, the objectives, and clearer titles, then reading it again, I'm a technical person sometimes, and I get over technical, and sometimes have to put myself in the shoes of somebody who's not a planner, and oh yeah, I get what they're saying. So actually, a lot of valid criticisms. So what we're talking about here with the municipal plan, it's not massive substantive changes, but when it gets to the zoning, there are some large substantive changes, and that came out of the PAC's recommendations. And a number of the changes there, which would be substantive, talking about the R3 zone. So this was something where, as planners, we're hearing that the rural restrictions seem to be more than the urban. And that was, it's perplexing. Why would that be the case? And as planner, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, there's actually a lot more uses that are permitted in rural. But what I think has been the sort of the nub of that discussion has been the subdivision criteria. And now, what planners have to do is we have to balance what we have with provincial statutes and laws and regulations with what the community is saying they want for the future direction, and look at something that's in the public interest, the overall long-term public interest, and recommend that professionally to council. So when we draft something, that's our obligation. So when we drafted up the R3 zone with that subdivision limitation, it's on purpose and intentional to protect natural resource areas and protect viable farmlands. But what PAC said is we need to find some flexibility. So what this draft would propose was to have some flexibility where you might have a viable location where you're not going to set any prime agriculture areas. A 1 acre lot may be fine. It would not go against the statements of public interest, which we cannot do. We cannot professionally recommend that to you. And it wouldn't pass. The minister wouldn't approve it. So we're trying what we can do, responding to what PAC is saying, what the public are saying, and bring it forward to council for consideration. When we look at the town plat in particular, again, this concern around infill development, it certainly was brought to council's attention the night of the public hearing. And these are also valid concerns. The idea of uncontrolled development in a national historic site is not what we hope for with the municipal plan, but I can see what people are saying with regard to this idea that, you have a lot here that may have been larger and then it gets subdivided and now there's multifamily house there. So there's a number of substantive changes that PAC had recommended, and we more or less kind of gave them some language to work with, and they gave it to council, and we've reworked it since a little bit, and this is in this draft. And so a couple things to note. Subdivision. If you're in the town plat, there'd be more community consultation if a subdivision was proposed. And to have particular concern to architectural quality and compatibility with surrounding heritage properties if a subdivision was proposed in the town plat. Looking at if you have heritage property itself listed in the Heritage Conservation Bylaw, limiting the size of that lot so it itself doesn't get subdivided. So you're keeping the original 8-lot format for those heritage properties. But again, not preventing properties that don't have heritage buildings on it from having infill development. Because again, like Xander said, Parks Canada doesn't look at that as a straitjacket that you can no longer do any more development in the town plat. And we also have the statements of public interest saying we must promote infill development, must promote densification where you have urban services to make efficient use of it, as opposed to putting out all your growth into areas where there is no urban services. So we're trying to look for this balance and this, hearing back from the public, there's, you'll get certain perspectives, but when you take it to the, 2024 public consultation, housing affordability in St. Andrews is the #1 concern. If we hear from the by and large number of people, this was something which most people said is a challenge facing the community. And council, again, has the opportunity to address it through a plan that responds to that concern. And further, the Navy Island issue. So this is something which came out of a resident who said there's been a lot of work on Navy Island. We need to make sure we're not losing anything that has been developed. And so one of the things PAC had recommended is coming up with special provisions or special zone for Navy Island. And so this would propose downzoning Navy Island to C1, the most restrictive conservation zone, but with an allowance for those properties that are not in conservation easement, not in nature trust, to do the seasonal houses, the seasonal camps, with provisions for there's going to be no municipal services provided you in the future. Got to bring your garbage off island. But continuing basically the rights that private properties in Navy Island have today. Same limitations around height, same limitations around subdivision, et cetera. So, so there's been a lot of great feedback. Some other smaller details, but I'm going to probably leave it there and kind of turn it back to you, Your Worship. If there's any further questions, we're happy to take them.
Thank you both for giving us an explanation. I'll turn it over to council. Questions? Comments? Councillor Weir.
Yes, I've had a lot of feedback from people in Bayside, Shamcook, and some within the town. There's still a lot of uncertainty as to what the municipal plan encompasses. We've got another version here tonight, which we were privy to on Friday afternoon, I think. And so I still think there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty out there. There's a significant number of people that want to make their views known. And as I said last week, we were elected to represent those people, not to rule those people. And if we're going to properly represent them, we, in my mind, should give them the opportunity to let their views be known. To me, that's democracy in action. So I'm quite willing to make a motion to table first reading. I don't have a problem with having first reading on the municipal plan and the zoning bylaw at the same time. They're so intertwined that they, why not put them through together? And then we don't have any perceived conflicts. And as I was reading them, some legalese came to mind. Two very common words. But extremely strong words in a legal sense. And two words are shall and may. The sentence starts out, you shall, it means you must do it. You're legislated to do it. If you may, you have a choice whether you decide you want to do it or not. So, two very common words that have, for anyone that's used to working with legislation, have extremely strong meaning when you're reading them. And every sentence I read, first word I noted was, is it shall or may? Then I'll read the rest and decide what I think of it. But as I say, we're here to represent the people. I don't think the people are ready for us to push this through. I'll just leave it at that.
So, Your Worship, you have
Councillor,
a motion on the floor.
Is there a mo,
Well,
Well,
I
you have
will
a
make
motion on the floor,
if you
but
want, but
I would like all of council to have a chance to speak before we go to
I
a
agree.
motion. So I'm going to hold on to your motion till
Certainly.
everybody gets a chance to speak. Is that all right, council? Or do you want to go with this motion? Okay, Councillor Harland?
Thank you. So I'm now a bit confused because I thought that I heard, I understood from Xander and Alex that if we wanted to proceed with further consultation, which I agree with Councillor Weir, is very important. I think there are still numerous people who we need to hear from. I think there are still some other issues that we need to work through. But in order to do that, if we table it, that's dead in the water, isn't it?
Not necessarily. So if we table these tonight, now, we're at we're getting close to the election. It should be pointed out, this isn't like the provincial and federal governments where when you go to, they drop the writ, everything that's on the table gets eliminated. You can pass partially completed readings onto future councils. They still have the opportunity to do whatever they want with them. So just keep that in mind. If this is eventually tabled tonight, we'll probably come back during the staff-led and try to get further direction. I think that, even having first reading tonight isn't necessarily means we have to zip through the other two without changes, just to put all the options there. I actually got to go back to that in his question about, do you need to have the municipal plan at least first reading before you start breaking the zoning bylaws? Is it okay to do them the same night?
Sorry. Yeah, you should have a municipal plan preceding the zoning bylaw. So you can adopt them like a councillor we were saying, you can adopt them sort of simultaneously. But in order to have a discussion on a zoning bylaw, there needs to be an attending or preceding municipal plan which empowers the zoning bylaw. So yeah, what we would recommend is to have a first reading. That doesn't mean you're going to pass it, but it could mean you're looking at what staff has suggested in terms of adjustments to the municipal plan, whether you want to incorporate those or not. That could be part of a first reading, but yeah, we would suggest going ahead with a first reading and then having the public hearing of objections, and which our recommendation would be on a draft that has these revisions which came through the PAC, which are responding to the public hearing of objections concerns.
Sorry, can I just
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
clarify again in terms of my original question? The challenge I would have with tabling this process and stopping the discussion now, which I think I understand if we table it, then we're going to stop the discussion and the new council will pick it up, is that we have built a tremendous momentum. We have engaged the public. There has been a lot of engagement, which I think we need to continue and support and facilitate. And now is the time to do it, as opposed to saying to a new council, dust all of this off and start again. I think that's irresponsible of us to a new council. If we continue down this road and continue to make changes or changes to the plan and to the zoning bylaw, but we don't get it quite finished, we can then pass all of that work off to the new council. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm really uncomfortable with us stopping this process at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. Councillor Blanchard?
Thank you. I hear what everyone's saying. I appreciate the work that Mr. Gopin and Mr. Henderson have done up to this point. To the previous councillor's comments, my concern would be just that. Getting it and doing a lot of legwork up to the point, but we don't get it passed. So at that point, we are handing off something to a new council, which they are required to pass, but they have not been involved in any of
The
the
background.
lead up to that, right? So that would be my concern. And to be honest, I don't feel like, based on the feedback we've had from the public, again, I appreciate all the work that's been done, and I understand why we've been pushing this forward. And I know we have until 2028, but recognizing that all the other municipalities that draw on the services of the Regional Service Commission will be looking for those same services in 2028. So by getting out in front early, that was part of it, and I don't know if that's been communicated well enough to the citizens of the community as to why we're trying to move on this earlier than 2028. That, to me, was one of the bigger reasons why. We have access to Mr. Gopin and Mr. Henderson before other municipalities do. So having said that, though, the feedback that we received from most of the members, I mean, just about every member of the community, I think that I've read an email from, or we've seen it, the hearing of objections, or the public meetings that we've had, have been to slow down and stop. They're not ready. And again, I appreciate a lot of work has been done, and I'm happy that the progression that I'm seeing. I just don't think we're going to get it over the finish line before the election. And at this point, we're getting into the zoning bylaw as well, the zoning plan as well. I would prefer to see the next council have as much input and be part of the discussions as much as possible, instead of us trying to force and move this through quickly just to get it done before the election. So again, I'm of the opinion to table now and let the next council take it over and then take it forward. God knows we had things that happened with the wharf, for example, right, where a lot of work was done with the previous council. Essentially, we just had to turn around and do it all from scratch, is really what it boiled down to. I would prefer to see the next council jump in now at this point where we're just, sort of coming into that first reading and then letting them take it from there. I just feel like it's, based on what we've heard, I feel like it's too much in too short a time to get it all done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Deputy Mayor Neal?
Thank you, Mayor Akaji. I'm going to kind of fall right in the middle between these two arguments, I think, because my initial thought coming into tonight was, again, I was prepared to accept tabling this, but not tabling it to the point where it's going to the next council automatically. My thought was that whether we table it tonight or even if we do go with first reading, the reality is in my mind, they're not that much different, because again, we can still have opportunity for plenty of community consultation. There's opportunity for plenty of changes to be made. I do agree that I don't think this council is going to get through this process before May. But that being said, I would not want to just simply throw in the towel and say we're going to pass this off. Again, I think we have done too much work on this. I think the planners have put way too much time into this. And I think we should continue moving forward in this process. Again, whether that is with tabling it tonight or having first reading and continuing the process. I don't think, again, I know it was a recommendation from the planners, but I don't think procedurally, if we do table this first motion, that prevents us from going ahead with a public hearing of objections with regards to the zoning bylaw, am I correct?
Does it?
Well, again, what I heard was that you would want to have that, but
Well, technically, yep, I might not be very loud. It'd be like trying to choose which fuel you're going to use, but you don't know if you're going to use a car engine or a jet engine. There's the thing that has to decide that there's even going to be a zoning bylaw, if I'm right, before you could discuss the zoning bylaw.
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy. I think that there's certain things in the act, I think that you'd have to, they'd be implicit. This is one of them. This is not something explicitly that says you must have first reading before you do a public hearing objections on a draft zoning bylaw. But that analogy is exactly correct that the clerk uses. That's, in terms of a draft for discussion, a first reading is just that. It puts it on the table. And then some of the sort of attending documents, the zoning bylaw, which is one, I think that it follows. It makes logical sense in that way. But it's up to council, and I think, what you guys decide is what you decide. So, yeah.
So, sorry, if I can just finish that thought then, I guess. So, that being said then, I mean, honestly, I'm probably fine whether we decide to table it. But again, if we do decide to table it, I would hope the intention is we continue working on it. I don't want to just table it and say we're handing it off. If we do go to first reading, I am fine with that as well, as long as, again, the public is well aware of the fact that there is still ample opportunity for more consultation, changes to be made. Whichever route we choose, I am definitely in favor of having the second public engagement session. I think that is critical considering the number of concerns we had. One of the things I really wanted to see us move forward with was, again, the FAQ sheet, which I think we mentioned earlier has been put out, but I don't believe it has yet.
Not quite.
Not yet.
Yeah, so I would like to see that come out. Again, hopefully that will help alleviate some of the concerns that we heard during the public hearing of objections, as well as, again, potentially getting a smaller, again, focus group together that can sit down and address some of these very specific concerns. And again, we hear them repeatedly. I think there's a common theme with a lot of the concerns we're hearing from the public. So possibly getting a group together that can move this forward. And whether this council gets it through or not, I would want to hand the next council the best possible iteration of this plan, in the hopes that they won't have that much work to do with it. Whether they decide to adopt it or keep it going, or they decide to scrap it and go, start from scratch. The reality is we don't have any say over that at the moment. So that being said, again, I'm fine either way as long as we continue this process. Again, I think we've done too much work on it. I think the planners have put too much into it. And again, we have so much momentum going right now that I think we need to continue engaging the public and continue the process. So,
Thank you,
Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I look at this as like a snowman. So we have been building this snowman for 2 to 3 years at the present time. I understand the public, absolutely understand. They think the timing. However, I do feel that we have to keep niggling it on in order to make the public know that they have an opportunity. If we pass this first reading, it means absolutely nothing that says we can't stop this at any time. We can absolutely have the second public reading. All of these strides that we're taking, if we do not hit the finish line, it will be less work for the next council. I don't see any reason that the first reading to pass this evening is going to have any detrimental effect on any decision that this council or the next council makes, except it will allow us to take strides and keep working on this. I think that the snowman needs to keep building it, not melting it. And I feel if we table this, we're just going to give the next council a pile of water instead of a snowman. Whereas I feel this council's job and recommendations and responsibility to the public is to keep hearing from them. And if that requires having this first reading, which really in no way affects our decision on if it's going to go through or not, is we're just keep building, we need to put another ball on the snowman. And I don't think that we want to, or I personally don't want to hand off a bucket of water. So I'm comfortable, I'm like Deputy Mayor Neal, I'm comfortable really with either way, but I don't want to throw the water away. I want to keep the snowman. All the work that we've done, all the people that we've listened to, everything that this council has done to get to this stage. And it really is not a commitment that we're going to go through with this. I need to make sure that everybody knows that. This is just to continue making a snowman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchard again. Councillor Gumashell first.
I'll chime in. Thank you, Worship.
You're
I don't have any
welcome.
fancy snowman analogies or anything, so you have to excuse me, I'm a little tired. But a couple things the planner said. I've been sitting here a long time. I remember back at a meeting at the courthouse years ago saying we need to have more housing. We need to densify our community. That word was new to me, that densification. And the planners have gone away and they worked super hard. They got their name on this. It's their bread and butter. They think it. They think about it. You can really tell that they're 100% in, and I certainly appreciate that. I know there was lots of concerns came forward, but out of the latest iteration of it, one of the things that Alex or Mr. Henderson said was that there will be more consultation on things in the proximity of your building. So if you live in X and something's going to happen next door, there'll be a little bit more opportunity to give feedback. So I like that. I do think that we should continue to move forward with it to another public consultation and not table it at this time, as Councillor Harlan suggested, and I think both of you would agree with. So I think we should continue to move forward. I think we have a lot of time into this, and if we don't finish, that's okay, but I don't think we should stop just now. So that's my ramblings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gumashell. Councillor Blanchard.
Yeah, just a question then to staff. So without having a first reading, just as an example, if it was tabled, does that stop us from having public consultation type meetings and not a hearing of objections per se? But does it stop public meetings, consultation? Does it stop a working group? Does it stop us working on the FAQ to provide more information on the zoning bylaw or the municipal plan?
So the only thing I'd add is I think it'd be good to have the first reading of the municipal plan, is from what I heard, in order to start bringing the zoning bylaw forward, because there's a consecutive thing there. Then just kind of leave it at that. Then you'd have the two motions, one for first reading of the municipal plan, the zoning bylaw, have the zoning bylaw public hearing of objection, sorry. Do that in 3 weeks, I think it is, the 24th. And then council will have a better thing. In the meantime, we have a staff-led meeting next week. It'll give the four of us a chance to get together and discuss. We hear you about how to move around. It'll also release version 3 or 4 of the municipal plan, whatever version we're on here, to the public at large, for them to review it more. And then we can kind of play around with dates. I cursed myself and said, oh, we have 2 free Mondays at the end of the month because we have...
Yeah, we don't.
But just to my point, to my question, I mean, I understand the process and I understand what's required in order
Yeah.
to have a public hearing of objections to follow, more formalized process. But we had open houses, we have different things where we present a draft essentially to the public and they provide feedback, as opposed to it not in a formal hearing of objection sense, but we have those things. There's nothing to stop us with the direction of council from directing staff to have more public consultation, things of that nature, right? Just outside of the formal process, right? So I'm just
100%
saying-
up to you.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, it wouldn't just because, Again, it doesn't sound like there's support enough for it, but it's just saying if it was tabled, it doesn't necessarily have to stop the public consultation process moving forward. It just means formally we're leaving it for the next council to make those decisions. But anyways, thank you.
If you could, sorry,
Okay,
if,
Councillor.
could we just
Councillor.
have the planner respond to that one particular question?
Oh, no, thank you, Councillor Blanchard. One little note would be if you did do more of these, like engagement sessions like we did in January and in the fall there, what we'd also, we're looking for is also kind of the decision on these revisions too, because officially if we're dealing with draft 2, then some of the feedback which we discussed tonight that came into the public hearing objections, that came into the PAC, that wouldn't be in the document that we'd be discussing with the public. So that's kind of where, the logical step of talking about a municipal plan first and such is one thing, but it's also the versions. So that's what we would recommend. If you're looking at these versions and some of these tweaks, it'd be good to have direction on that before if there's a public hearing objections or other types of staff-led meetings, so we can know what we're talking about with the public.
Thank you.
And I'll just, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
I wrote in the background to table it until after the elections, but you don't have to pick that date to table it. You could table it until 2 weeks from now and pick it right back up. That's not a hard
sell.
requirement. That was just a recommendation based on other discussions.
Okay, Councillor Weir.
Yes, I may not have finished or may not have articulated well enough what I was trying to say, but I said I was quite willing to table the motion. A second part of tabling would be to continue with as much effort as possible to consult with the public, with getting feedback, with building a file that even if we don't get to pass it, we do have an excellent file to turn over to the new council. And that would be part of my motion to table, would be to continue to carry on, probably with more effort than we have in the last 2 months. Our clerk raised a very good point. I actually ordered our rules of order so I can do these things right. We can take it off the table at any time and put it back for vote. We can do it next week. There's nothing to stop us from taking the motion off the table and voting on it. And so I did want to articulate that my intention would be to continue full steam ahead, to do everything we can to get a very good understanding of what the public wants.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Councillor Heenan.
May I please have a clarification point? If we table this and we have a public session, it means that this new draft does not get presented. We would be having public presentations on the draft that we've already had public presentations on. That does not make sense to me because we've already gone through that. The public needs to see the next draft and then be able to comment on it. So they could see. So maybe some of their issues have been covered in this. And my point is, if we cannot present this and we continue working, we're working with the old draft. This is not right. I mean, we've gotten rid of that draft. And if we don't approve this, we're still going to be working with draft number 2. And that, to me, does not make sense. The public has a right to see draft number 3, and in order for draft number 3 to be presented at public, we have to pass this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra? Not Xander, Alex, sorry.
No, I was just nodding along. It is correct. That is what staff are recommending. It's an iterative process. The formal adoption, it feels so final when you give a reading, but it isn't. It is an iterative where these are going to be changes. There are amendments that are motioned and versions that go back to PAC, new public hearings that are called. You may not have enough time in this council to do it all, but you can continue that iterative process. But diversion control is very important at this stage.
Thank you. Being in this seat, I can't make an opinion, which is sad. But I think, from understanding what you're saying, we need to have that version 3 for the people. I mean, and as Councillor Heenan has said, we've already done, discussions on the other one, so we really need to go on. So I'm just saying that. And with that, Councillor Blanchard, it's your turn again.
Sorry, I mean, I don't like to speak for the third time on anything. That shouldn't be the way it works. But
No.
just on this point then, so if we're going to first reading then, we've had the hearing, the public hearing of consultations as part of the process on the municipal plan. So like, whatever version we're talking about, there's not another public hearing there's not necessarily a hearing of objections. Is that what I'm looking for here? Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Not necessarily as part of the process. So what I'm wondering then, again, if we are following the process, if we did first reading tonight, what is the path forward? Because normally that would be second, then third reading, right, for municipal plan. I know for the zoning bylaw, that's something different. We have to have first reading of the municipal plan in order to move to the zoning bylaw, hearing of objections to get that public feedback. So again, my question is, what is the plan moving forward if we're having a first reading tonight? Are we looking to then move to second and third readings with, some feedback at a potentially council meeting? Or are we looking to have more public meetings beyond the scope of what's required under the normal process of moving a motion forward?
If I may just address the issue about another public hearing. If there, and the planners can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there are substantive changes, if we go through and we have a whole bunch of consultation or direction from council, and there are, notice Alex has been saying these are minor changes, these are not substantive changes he's been saying about the municipal plan. Part of that is because if there are substantial changes, then the act requires a whole new public hearing of objections. So just because we've done one doesn't mean that there's no requirement for another one. If there's a lot of changes there, or even if I'm wrong, one substantive change that would, then that would trigger a whole nother public hearing of objections.
Yeah, so, and I appreciate that, but what I've heard again so far from Mr. Gopin and Mr. Henderson is that they are minor changes. So at this point, there's not a requirement for another public hearing of objections. There is not a requirement under the current, what's on the table right now. So there would be no requirement for that. So are we proposing to have another opportunity, again, aside from public feedback through emails and phone calls to town office? Are we proposing another opportunity for people to have that public feedback? I haven't heard it yet. Other than.
Hold on.
Sorry, that was actually part of what I said. I want to go ahead with a second hearing. Simply, again, we had a particularly bad storm night for the first one.
Yeah.
And again, I think there are enough concerns brought forward that we should address them separately, have that second hearing or objection, and present it again.
Okay.
Councillor Harlan, did you have anything to add?
Sorry, I was just going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I was going to repeat that Deputy Mayor did say that. Does that clarify it for everybody?
Yeah.
Councillor Weir?
Sorry, I was going
Sorry.
to say, just for clarification, I understood that we were talking about the hearing of objections for the zoning bylaw. So I thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, I guess my comment is we had a public hearing of objections. Nothing had been, we didn't have a motion. We took I don't know what draft it was, the second draft?
Second round.
To the public hearing of objection. There's no reason we can't take the third draft to a public hearing of objection. We don't need a motion on the table to do that. We did it the first time without it.
No, but I
Well,
think
couldn't
you-
do it the second time without it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we're trying to get the bylaws included, which means we have to do that? Or am I confused? Two separate hearings.
So you would need to make a motion to send a particular bylaw to a public hearing.
Okay.
And ideally, that would be the version we presented with you tonight, but so you don't necessarily have to make the motion for reading, but you would want to motion to send the draft for public hearing that is presented, and might as well do the reading.
Okay. Counselor Heenan.
Your worship, the public needs to see the third draft, in my opinion. I mean, they can't
Yeah,
comment.
and I think it has to be posted and whatnot, so
Yes.
that they can make comments.
That's
And I
right.
think therefore, we're not etching it in stone. We can change anything along the way, correct? I mean, I'm not supposed to be talking.
And if those changes are major, then it would have to go for another public hearing.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's up to you, council. I cannot put words in your mouth, but they have asked us to do that so that we can open it up to version 3, which will be on public, which will be another hearing of objections, which I think we all feel we need to let those people who didn't get out in the storm be able to give their opinion. It's very important for their opinion to be heard. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I like to hear what the opinions are. Mr. Spear.
Yeah, I just want, again, for clarity, so a hearing of objections is a very specific thing under the Community Planning Act. So if we do it a second time based on this minor amendment, we probably wouldn't call it a hearing of objections, just so you know, it'd be called public consultation probably
Consultation.
on zoning bylaw version 3, for instance. That only if there's substantive change that we have to bring forward, that you should call it a hearing of objection, that we just shouldn't keep using that term over and over again, is my understanding.
Okay, and Mr. Henderson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of different ideas floating around, and so, I apologize to anyone who's not following. There's some very particular procedures in the Community Planning Act about adopting bylaws. It's a little different from the Local Governance Act, so again, it's a lot. But what you could do, I think maybe just throw this to you and council. You have the public hearing objections on the zoning bylaw. There's no reason you couldn't schedule 2 different hearings in the same meeting, or back to back, so to speak.
Okay.
Effectively, I mean, if you look at what we had for the public hearing objections in the theater, half the comments were about the zoning bylaw too. And for the public, these things are indistinguishable. It's the government doing this, right?
Right.
But for us, we know they're very particular and they're different. But you could have both scheduled. There's no reason not to. But you want to decide on the version. So is it going to be the draft 3 with those amendments? And Xander did say one option would be just to, by resolution, put that forward back to the public in a public hearing with version 3, or to give first reading. The reason I would say give first reading, it's again back to what the clerk said. It's a logical progression in terms of the adoption. You're looking at a municipal plan. The next logical step is to look at the attending zoning bylaw. So that would be our official recommendation, is to do a first reading in the municipal plan. Doesn't mean you're committing to doing a third and final. It's putting it on the table. It's a version 3, so there's been amendments, and there could be definitely more. And then calling for a public hearing objection on both.
Or public consultation?
Yes, yeah. And I think there's no problem doing a second public hearing of objection on both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Counselor Weir, you had your hand up first, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Well, I guess
Did he answer your
I'm
question?
prepared to put a motion on the table. And
Just wait till everybody is finished first before we do that. Deputy Mayor, you have some comments?
Again, I was just going to sort of reiterate what the CAO just mentioned. Again, from my own perspective, I would rather see this second public consultation session being just that, as opposed to, say, the formal hearing of objections, and only so that it gives us an opportunity to actually engage with the public, hear what they have to say, and be able to respond to them. to hopefully alleviate some of the concerns, or at least take the concerns back, and be better able to implement those into another draft if need be.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All right, anybody else? Councillor Harlan?
Sorry, just to clarify, we do currently have a motion on the floor, correct?
We do.
We do, we have first reading
The
motion.
first reading motion.
Okay, thank you.
We have to go back and vote on that first, correct?
Unless Councillor Weir is going
Unless
to make his
Councillor Ware
motion.
does an amendment or changes it. Table. Okay, so what are we doing, Council? Councillor Ware, you're going to make a motion, please?
My motion is to table the motion that's on the floor and proceed with accepting draft 3 of the municipal plan and continue with as many public consultations as we can fit in within a reasonable time frame.
Okay,
So I'm making a motion to table a motion or a resolution to accept number 3 and a resolution to continue with our public consultations. There would be objections or public consultations. Thank you very much.
you need further clarification?
I can just read it back if you'd like.
Oh, thank you.
So it is all in one motion.
Yes,
That council table the first reading of the municipal plan and proceed with accepting draft 3 of the municipal plan and continue with as many consultations that will fit in a reasonable time frame.
thank you. We need a seconder. Councillor Blanchard? Now we're going to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry. More consultation? More
Well, I'm
discussion?
assuming we might have some few questions regarding the motion, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they can
Any
debate.
questions on the motion?
So
Deputy
again,
Mayor?
just for the planners, is that essentially fulfilling? I mean, I know, again, the recommendation was to have first reading
First
to get
reading.
that version out there, but is this basically fulfilling the same thing?
It's, again, we get into area which I would say I wouldn't recommend that, but it's up to council in terms of how you want to handle that process. So I think officially what you're doing is you're not saying this is what you're doing, but you just want to keep the discussion going. I in colloquial terms, that seems what's going on.
Right.
But no, we don't recommend doing this.
Okay, so the planners do not. Councillor Blanchard?
So the only issue then, thank you, Worship, would be that we could not move forward with a public hearing of objections on the zoning bylaw in this situation, correct?
I don't think you're legally prevented from doing the public hearing objections in the zoning bylaw, but I think what we're trying to say is in terms of the logical flow of council adopting a zoning bylaw or considering it, there doesn't seem to be a basis for that bylaw if this bylaw has not
Sure.
been entertained.
Could still be consultations, I guess, with the public, but couldn't have any formal process, but I understand what you're saying, thanks.
Okay. Okay, any further? So we vote on Councillor Weir's motion first. All those in favor? Aye. Councillor Weir. Contrary minded? It's everybody else except for Councillor Weir. So that is defeated. Now, we go back to the original motion, if I'm correct. Correct? And the original motion that the council grants leave for the first reading by title only of bylaw MP 25-01, is that the right one? Of the municipal plan for the town of St. Andrews. And that was moved by Councillor Heenan, seconded by Councillor Harland. Do we do further discussion again? No, thank you. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Contrary minded? Oh, hold it, sorry.
Moment, please.
We have a clarity question, just for the planners.
Clarity.
Is this assumption that we're going to version 3 to first reading? Well, that's
Yeah,
in the,
ver-
that's what's
it's-
actually in your
That's what's in
binders.
there
It
is
is,
version
yeah.
3.
Sorry,
Sorry.
we had a panic for a second there, through all this
Isn't
discussion.
it on version 3? Okay. All right, so we're ready to vote? All those in favor, aye? Contrary minded? One nay, Counselor Weir. One abstention means that you agree because there's no. Okay, Counselor Blanchard isn't abstaining. So that would be carried. Now, do I have to read the bylaw by title?
Yes.
Okay, so at what page is that on? Sorry. Gotta go find it.
It's not there the way
It's
we
not
wanted to
there.
have it there.
I don't have it.
That was not. Or we could just use it.
On what page?
He's got it.
Oh, he's coming down with it, thank you. It's not on my paper. Oh, in the municipal plan? I've got that. You got that?
That's municipal plan. Sir, you have the other, you have it right, sorry.
Thank you.
block is the municipal plan.
It's okay, you guys are just trying to confuse me, and I think I'm on track. And people want me to run for mayor. This one?
Just,
Oh, just read.
go for first reading of.
Well, where's that page in my book? Oh, there it is. Look at that. Just by title though, right?
Well, you just read, that first one is by titles,
Okay, so
but don't,
just
don't read beyond there.
don't read beyond the bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay. So, municipal plan bylaw, 1, is point 0, bylaw title and scope. And 1 is bylaw MP 25-01, the Town of St. Andrews Municipal Plan bylaw. 2, this bylaw may be cited as the Town of St. Andrews Municipal Plan. 3, this bylaw applies to the Town of St. Andrews local government boundaries as outlined in subsection 31. Stop there. 4, this municipal plan bylaw contains I.
Your worship, you can stop. You can just
Oh,
stop
I
at
can
point 1.
stop.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So, read for the first time, March the 2nd, 2026. And I don't have to read it again, right? Thank you. Thank you, council, for doing that. And I hope, planners, thank you very much for all your work that you do, and staff and council, how much work we've put into this, and the people too. So we look forward to the next steps, which are going to happen soon. So, carrying on, just going to find my paper.
It's Councillor Heenan on page 49.
Page
49.
49. All right. Sorry. 42, 43. I've got 59, 74, what happened to 49? Sorry. Oh, there we are. Page 49. Counselor Heenan, you're up again.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. It's reference number FA 260330. Schedule a public hearing for proposed zoning bylaw, Z25-01. The Town of St. Andrew Council and planners have been working on a new zoning bylaw in conjunction with the proposed MP 25-01 municipal plan bylaw. A public presentation of bylaw was made to council at a special council meeting on December the 8th, 2025. Recordings, explanation videos, and a draft of the bylaw and various resources have been available on the town website and through our town hall. The Planning Advisory Committee reviewed and discussed the municipal plan at a meeting on Wednesday, February the 18th, 2025. a letter, should that be 2026 or? It should be 2026. Okay,
2026.
I apologize, there's a typo. Municipal plan meeting on Wednesday, February the 18th of 2026. A letter with their views and recommendations is attached. Planners have provided an updated draft of the zoning bylaw provided separately to council dated February the 24th, 2026. A planning report and feedback summaries are included within the package. Staff recommends council set the date for public hearing of objections with a recommendation for Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026, 6 p.m. at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Dining Room. And the motion before us, so your worship, is that the council schedule a public hearing of objections for proposed bylaw Z25-01, zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews on Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the W.C. O'Neill Arena Dining Room. I so move it, your worship.
Thank you. We need a seconder. Councillor Gourmichel. Discussion? Okay, so not saying anything, here's the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. So that's March 24th, 2026, okay? So the next one is on page 59.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Reference number FA 260334, Municipal Capital Borrowing Board application for land acquisition. The town of St. Andrews has been in discussion with the property owner to acquire 25 acres of land. Staff have presented a few options for financing, including borrowing the funds from the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board. The acquisition of $849,000 can be internally funded through the General Capital Reserve Fund, which would still leave a balance of $1 million. However, council could also choose to finance all or part of it to leave a larger reserve for future capital needs. Prior to reading this motion, you may want to have a discussion to see if below is warranted. So what do I do with that?
So we stop here and we talk about the options,
Okay.
correct? Mr. Spear?
That's correct.
Okay. So who leads that? Are you leading that or Councillor Heenan? I'm going to read it.
Well, I guess I better lead it.
You better lead this one.
Okay.
So council, there's a staff report that it starts on page 59 that discusses this. And we can do something anywhere from in between. But so I guess the big thing is just talking about is that when we're doing our annual budgets, currently in the current budget, we have about $1 million every year available after we pay operating expenses that can be used towards capital. We always spend it, we always have borrowing, but it's just to let you know, there's one source is tax from operating is $1 million. In the reserve funds, we currently have pretty near 2.3 million that we could take out. That would still leave about 1.3, and the 5-year projection doesn't show us using very much of that, so in 5 years, we'd still have around 1.2, 1.3 millions, everything else being equal. You know, that if we follow the 5-year capital plan that was there. And that's assuming we've already taken out, that we've made this purchased. Now, borrowing is an option. The only benefit of borrowing, I guess, is that then you leave more money in reserves for other potential projects. The big one for us would be the wharf, in case there's some uncertainty around that or unexpected costs. Looking at the last fall's provincial debentures, they were released at a rate of about 3.95%. So in the table before you, I said if we did 200,000 on a 5-year term, it'd be $45,000 a year. If we did the whole thing on a 20-year term, it'd be $65,000 a year. I don't think I need to go through everything that's in between, but it's, it'd be about an extra cent on the budget. So the question really is if council wants to finance any of it, to have a little more contingency in the reserve funds, or just, use the cash in the reserve funds to make the purchase, and then, future councils can put more money back into it to build it up, which would put more pressure, of course, on borrowing for future capital purchases. But I guess you're dealing with what you know now is that you have a purchase of the 849,000 plus expenses moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spear.
And I guess, if Your Worship, I guess my recommendation was that we take it all out of reserve funds, but that way there's no borrowing cost. It makes it a little easier than going back to the capital borrowing board and things, but it's 100% up to council.
All right, council. Councillor, Deputy Mayor first.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I would agree with the CAO. Again, I think Councillor Weir spoke to this at our last meeting. We have the cash in the General Capital Reserve Fund, and even, again, using that 849,000 still, as the CAO pointed out, still leaves the fund in very good shape. So I would be in favor of, I think, just paying for it within the General Capital Reserve. It gives us the opportunity to continue to build that fund, and we can basically defeat this motion to go to the Capital Borrowing Board.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Heenan.
I do apologize. I'm not coming from a CAO or an accounting background, but I totally agree with the Deputy Mayor. I totally agree with Mr. Spear. I believe, from a personal viewpoint, if I have the money, I would pay for it, and then if something comes up, then I would go to the borrowing board. So I believe that as long as everything stays on track, we avoid going to the borrowing board, and if something should happen that we can sell some of this asset in the future, it goes right back
the money
into
back
the,
in.
goes right back into the contingency fund. And I would like to be able to put that somewhere in a motion, that if we were to sell an asset from this acquired land, that it would go back to where the money came. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Anyone else? Councillor Weir.
Yeah, I guess I have a couple comments. Firstly, I assume the due diligence is not yet done on the acquisition of the property.
About 3/4 done, but
Yeah.
there's a little bit more we should do.
And with respect to putting the money back into the reserve fund, I don't think the planning is along far enough yet to know what we're going to have to spend in services and that type of thing to get the lots ready for sale. And where that money's going to come from, that's going to end up being a lot more than the purchase of the land, probably. So this is just maybe a little more than the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg's only 10%, I understand. But, this is committing the municipality to a very substantial cost in the future. And I'm just wondering if we our due diligence should include doing some estimates on what this total package is going to cost before we can start selling lots or recouping some of this money that's being invested. How much more we're going to have to invest before we do that. It's quite a can of worms when you open it. And I don't know what the market is for the lots. I don't know whether the other ones all sold out yet or not, but those are my concerns as I look at this motion and consider whether we're premature in making it or not.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Harland.
This question is to Mr. Spear. I wonder if you could provide, particularly the public, with just a bit of an understanding around why we would look at this opportunity to purchase this land.
I guess from my perspective and long-term planning perspective is that land isn't one of those things that comes along every day, and that it's good to land bank, and land is something that we could have, you know, I understand where Councillor Weir's coming from, but, you know, the reality is, with the land we already have, this isn't probably something that's going to be developed even in the next decade, maybe, but depending on availability. But I think it's a once in a many lifetime opportunity for the municipality to acquire land, and that future generations determine what it could be used for, and the sky's the limit, you know, as far as what it could be for. So like we said, it's 25 adjacent to our own land, which is another, you know, between, I didn't look it up, but 20 to 30 acres on top. So it's a fairly substantial block of property that we can be determined. The cost of it, Councillor Weir's not wrong, of developing it can be substantial, but it's one of those, in the early times of the Champlain subdivision, it was determined that the council would pay for it and basically take a loss on the land. I'm not sure this council is ready or willing to do that at this point, but there's still developers looking. There's some that are already moving, and we'll just have to look. I mean, there's also the possibility, too, to be honest, that it's close to services, but let's just say we could sell it in 1 acre lots as an option, and people would be responsible for their own water and sewer. As an example, where the subdivision lots are half an acre, more or less, because they have access to water and sewer. So we haven't gone that far, but we might lose the ability to have access to this particular pieces of property again. So when we brought it to council originally, the discussion was, you know, we have this opportunity to acquire significant parcels of land that we'll have forever until it's developed or used otherwise. And, you know, the council at the time instructed me they were happy to land bank it until, and then we can slowly figure a way throughout the rest of it as need be.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Heenan?
I would just like to point out that to be able to buy an acre of land for $34,000 in the town of St. Andrews, even undeveloped, very, very reasonable when you look at land downtown at 150 to 175 for a half an acre. This is a whole acre. So I think it's a great asset for the town and a great asset for the generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gomichel?
Thank you, Worship. I wasn't really prepared to speak on this. I thought it was such a slam dunk. It's such a great opportunity for our community to look at adding affordable housing, more subdivision. I mean, we would not be a community, multi-generational, multi-age, all those things without the subdivision. I know at the hearing of objection, some people didn't like the subdivision. I personally love the subdivision. Most of my students live in the subdivision. The subdivision is a key to St. Andrews being a vibrant community. Without the subdivision in the winter, we pretty much shut down. The school bus goes through the subdivision and doesn't go through town. So there's been a big transformation, and I could talk all night about this, and I have in the past with council, but this is such a great opportunity. I don't really think it needs a lot of discussion. We got a chance to get this land, and we can figure out what we want to do with it later, next to the land that we already have, next to the land that we already have, next to the services that we already have. So, like if you play Monopoly or Risk, it's a slam dunk. So, I really hope we jump at this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gomichel. Councillor Blanchard?
Yeah, I mean, to Councillor Gumichel's point, he made a great point, but I mean, this still is just essentially a motion is determine how we're going to purchase this, right? Not
That's right.
necessarily if we will,
If we will,
more
it's
about
more
how.
how.
So I just maybe bring it back to that, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Weir?
Yes, I guess the other councils may have misinterpreted my comments. I've often quoted Mark Twain, "Buy land, young man, they've stopped making it." I was just pointing out there is a due diligence process. There are future commitments we are forcing the municipality to make commitments in the future that we have no dollar figure on or anything like that. In no way am I against the purchase. I just like having the facts on the table when I make a decision. And I still believe in Mark Twain.
Thank you.
you.
Anyone else? Councilor Blanchard.
Sorry, just, like I said, to Councilor Weir's point as well, the motion to purchase would still have to come, right? We still, that's still to come, and I appreciate the fact that we still don't have all the information yet. There's still some work the town staff is doing. So when that occurs, this is just essentially to provide, I guess, direction in terms of how we would go about.
Well, very specifically, in order, if we have to finance, we have to get an application in the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, which takes, the cycle takes quite a while. And so if you're comfortable in saying we're going to use the reserve funds, then this motion can be ignored.
Right.
And
We're
move
not
forward.
limited, we're not limited with the timelines to apply, so again, if it seemed like there was some agreement in terms of, you know, we do have the funds available to us, so if that's the route we proceed, then there is no timeline. That motion to purchase can come forward at a future date once we have all the information, I guess.
Correct. And
Yeah,
I mean, the
thanks.
motion would probably say that we buy land from ABC and the funding will come out of the reserve funds.
Anything else? Councilor Heenan.
Would I revamp the motion?
Actually, you never said the motion because we said if you.
No,
Okay.
it stops at the motion.
It stops. We don't need a motion now
Thank you.
because the only motion is if we went for long-term debt.
Okay, so there's no motion, so we just don't do it.
Thank you, Council. You gave instructions to staff to
Okay,
forge the next motion in a couple of weeks or so.
great. All right, so we're done that, which is the introduction. So now there's nothing for Public Works and Public Safety, no Economic Development, Business, Culture Committee, there's no Recreation and Environmental Committee. So Planning and Community Development Committee, schedule a public presentation, we did that, right?
Different bylaw.
Oh, different bylaw, sorry.
Page
This is
62
Counselor-
with Councillor Harland, yes.
Councilor Harlan, sorry.
Great.
My
Thank you.
fault, my mistake.
This
Getting
is
late.
reference PCD 260310. And the subject is schedule a public presentation proposed MP 20-02-03. And the background is as follows. Planners have received an application to construct a two-story, 816-square-foot addition to the rear of 246 Water Street. The addition would largely be garage space, but would include a small office and an indoor stair access to an existing apartment. The secondary municipal plan, MP 20-02, requires the extensions do not cause the buildings to exceed the footprint, ground floor area of another main building on the block, The 246 to 256 Water Street complex is the largest building on the block, so any addition to it requires an amendment. The proposed addition would not impact the Water Street streetscape as it is an extension of the rear of the building. Further, it will reduce an existing gap in the pedestrian area connecting parking areas behind Water Street while maintaining the existing pedestrian access. Staff recommends that council begin secondary municipal plan amendment process by setting the date for a public presentation of MP 20-02-03 for Monday, March 16th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Following the public presentation, a date can be set for a public hearing of objections and views of PAC can be requested. Council could table the request until proposed municipal plan and zoning bylaw drafts are decided with no financial impact to the applicant. So the motion is as follows, that the council schedule a public presentation of proposed bylaw MP 20-02-03, a bylaw to amend bylaw number MP 20-02 in accordance with Section 25(1) of the Community Planning Act to be held on Monday, March 16th, 2026 in the W.C. O'Neill Council Chambers starting at 6 p.m., and I so move.
Okay, we need a seconder. Counselor Heenan. Any further discussion, council? All right, not seeing any. Ready for the question? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. All right. So next one. That's the last one. Is it? Do I have to read the bylaw?
No, you just, go ahead.
I just looked-
No, you just scheduled a public presentation.
Yep, okay. The next one is McGuire's Chocolate. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Safe drive home. Watch out for the deer and little animals. Okay, so page 69, page 70. Okay. Counselor Harlan. Page 70.
So this is reference number PCD 260312, and the subject is encroachment agreement, McGuire's Chocolate. The background is as follows. Victoria McGuire, owner of McGuire Chocolate Company, has submitted a request to install a patio deck in the parking area outside of her building at 174 Water Street, the same as other nearby businesses. A draft encroachment agreement is included for council review and approval. It provides for a length of 20 feet and depth of 7 feet. It is a 3-year agreement expiring on March 31st, 2029, prior to the 2029 season, and there is a rental fee of $300 per year paid annually. The motion is as follows, that council approve an encroachment agreement with Victoria McGuire, McGuire Chocolate Company, to allow a patio deck on the street parking area in front of 174 Water Street at a maximum size of 20 feet in length and 7 feet in depth, expiring on March 31st, 2029, with an annual rental fee of $300 under terms and conditions as set out by the CAO, and I so move.
Thank you, Councilor Harlan. Seconder. Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion? Okay, Councilor Heenan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick clarification question, Mr. Spear. Conditions set out by the CAO, that of course is you, that they get told when it has to come down. Is that correct, Mr. Spear?
Yeah, the
Like in
conditions
the
like
fall.
that is when they come down, we were looking at the pictures today, we want to make sure we minimize parking.
Yes.
Or the loss of parking, so we might want to shift it a bit, so it just gives me a little bit of flexibility.
Absolutely.
The conditions of the agreement would stay the same, it's just giving me a little bit of
I'm just
flexibility to
concerned
arrange it.
that people will go by the date, like if we have a nice fall, like it's usually the weekend after Thanksgiving that they come down. So I'm just making sure
For Halloween,
that's involved.
anyway.
So, yeah, so we usually run them the same time as the one-way
Yeah.
traffic, which is
One-way
the Monday after Thanksgiving, which is usually the Indulge Festival.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Thank you, Councilor Heenan. Any other further discussion? All right, ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. All right, and the last motion for the night, Councilor Harlan?
Thank you. This is reference number PCD 260313, and the subject is acceptance of the Fundy Engineering Wharf Assessment. The background is as follows. In November 2025, Council engaged the services of Fundy Engineering to inspect and provide a report on the status of the wharf. At a special council meeting on February 25th, 2026, Council received a presentation of the St. Andrews Wharf Assessment Report. A copy of the report is available on the website or at the Town Hall. Staff recommends the following: that Council accept the report as presented, recommended motion below, and that Council discuss providing opportunity for the public to provide input regarding the options suggested in the report. So the motion is as follows: that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approve the St. Andrews Wharf Assessment Report dated February 25th, 2026, and as prepared and presented by Funding Engineering, and I so move.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Heenan. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Heenan.
The second bullet, that the council discuss providing opportunity for the public to provide input regarding the options suggested in the report. I believe there should be a date on that, simply because we don't need something coming out of the woodwork in a year. So I would like to see us propose a date. I would like to amend, or whatever I have to do to add a date for the feedback from the public.
Mr. Spear.
I prefer you sit on this one, just give us a week. I don't disagree, we just have to
Okay.
fill it in with our other meetings and talk to Fundy Engineering, who agreed to attend and provide some of
Okay, so then we just leave it
better
as is?
drawings so people can see, try to get
Absolutely.
a visual effect, so.
So just leave it as is?
It's a hot, yeah, it's important to us to do that, we just have to get several parties organized to pull it off.
So does it get tabled or it stays as is?
No, this
Okay.
report can stay as is.
All right,
Or
so
motion,
that's
sorry.
done.
Thank you.
Until, oh, sorry, Councillor Ware.
Yes, I did finally get an opportunity to get through the report, and there's no question, it's an excellent assessment, but then we get into the options. There's a bit of vagueness as to which options might be recommended, which ones might not be, and I guess I wish there was some way we could make a motion to accept the report without having to accept the various suggestions on how to carry forward. But I know Fundy, I know the reputation, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to present more input at some point in time, so.
All right, thank you. Mr. Spear? Oh, Deputy
ahead.
Mayor?
Well, I was just going to say, Councillor Ware, I guess Fundy Engineering presented us options as per the RFP, but it's kind of council has to decide, because there was basically two types of material. There was crib work versus the cement ready rock. And then it was whether we were going to adjust a sea level rise or not. And that's really up to council and the funding partners to help determine that. And so at that point, that's really a council decision. It's not an engineering question. It's what your vision of that space would be.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Deputy Mayor, do you want to add to that?
I was basically going to say the same thing, I think. That, yeah, the options, so the public are clear. Again, I think what they presented to us with regards to the replacement of the inner approach and the repairs to the wharf are pretty consistent and well detailed throughout the report. The options are really just what we and the public want as far as infill options, the aesthetics of the wharf, whether we want rock or wood, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think the report was excellent. And again, I appreciate the fact that we now have a very clear picture of what our wharf, the shape our wharf is actually in and how to move forward with it, so.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else? So, the recommended motion. So now we need to vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. All right. So there's no new business, and we're at question period. Any questions online? Mr. Mac Pearson?
No questions online, no.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience about tonight? Yes. Okay, and questions? Yes, have to be specific. Thank you.
The first is, can you let us know how many people did respond during the last couple of weeks of the public hearing on the municipal plan? I think there were a fair
Yeah.
number that wrote in.
Yeah, the FAQ, when it comes out, will tell you It's listed.
Do you know that now?
Yep.
Mac does, I think.
Could you clarify your question as to whether you're looking for feedback since the public hearing, which is what it sounded like you asked?
No,
or if
no,
you're
no,
looking for
no.
all of them?
Or for all of
Starting,
them.
Okay, so since August 11th, 2025, we've had 40 individuals write in.
So you had maybe only 15 or something for the public hearing. We had 11 people, I think 11 people speak. But you only had, I thought you had a stack of papers in front of you.
Well, sure, all of these letters received until that time. So there were 9 received after the public hearing, so the first, there were 49 letters received in total from 40 different individuals.
Okay,
Some individuals sent multiple letters.
yeah, okay.
All of those 40 letters I did have on site
Yeah.
at the public
So
hearing.
the 49 letters, and then was it 11 or 12 people spoke?
I would have to check the minutes, I'm sorry. don't
I
have that
remember
number.
11, but it was just interesting to know how many people did take the time, and I thought there were some very thoughtful comments. The second was, how soon will you be releasing the version 3 of the municipal plan and the zoning bylaw proposed to the public? So,
Everybody's looking at me, yeah. It's ready to go, I just
It's
have to
ready,
hit a button,
yeah.
and it'll be hit in the morning.
Yeah, it should be up there in a day or two. I wouldn't, don't push Mac to
No,
tomorrow.
well, I can guarantee by lunchtime tomorrow it'll be
Yeah.
posted on the website.
yeah, because
Our photocopier's been down, but we'll try to get a handful of copies
it
off.
has to be out
Right.
within the
So-
21 days, so it'd be nice
Yeah.
to have that.
Yes,
So-
It'll be
the notice
within the
will be
week,
put out as
in
well
a
for
few
the
days.
public
Terrific.
hearing.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
To answer your question, from my notes, I had 16 people that spoke
Yeah,
at the
I thought
public
it was
hearing of
more than
objection.
Okay,
11.
yeah, I thought there were quite a few, but I wasn't keeping track. Good. Thank you very much.
Anything else? No? Okay. Mr. Menton, a question
It'll be
from
15.
tonight's?
I listened to that Fundy engineering report on the television, and I noted that there was concern about the type of rock that they mix together with the concrete, which is evidence from the damage that's been done to Mactaquac Dam. And in reading the literature, over the last couple of years, there's concretes that were made by the Romans 2,000 years ago that when in a marine environment are actually stronger than when they were originally made. And I didn't hear any comments about that in the Fundy engineering report. And the other thing is that with the rebar that they're using, that there have been lots of cases where just bare rebar has been put into the concrete, and if the concrete fails at all, and salt water can get to the concrete, get to the rebar, and then the whole system falls apart. A garage in Ottawa, for example, public garage in Ottawa had to be torn down and rebuilt simply because of that. So those are 2 comments that I wanted to make with regards to that Fundy engineering report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Questions are done. Council and Deputy Mayor's comments? Oh, Councilor Harlan.
Thank you. I just want to give a huge shout out to our councillor Kurt Gumashell and Victoria McGuire for doing the Goggins Challenge this weekend. So they ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And they raised $1,800 in support of the St. Andrews Wellness Committee and our efforts to do more suicide prevention training. I know you had other people running with you. You had some other supporters who ran legs with you. But it's a phenomenal effort, and I really want to thank you for that.
Thanks so much. We had a couple of e-transfers come in today, so we're just over $2,000.
Yay!
So everybody, it was an amazing experience, and Victoria and everybody did wonderful, and I'm so tired. And the brewing company was a great home base, and the whole weekend was just so, have great friends, and we have such a great community. I won't gush about it too much, but it was a great experience. Thank you, and thank you for your donation.
Anybody else in the council? Well, as acting mayor, I'd like to thank the Heather Curling Club because they hosted the junior championship, and it was awesome. I opened it on behalf of the town of St. Andrews, but the level of curling, the playing, it was excellent. And the volunteering, I like to thank all the people that volunteered and helped out. It was phenomenal. And to Roger and his committee, because you can't do it alone. You need the whole, everybody. But nice to see that it came back to St. Andrews a second time. It was here last year and then here again this year. Thanks to CHCO TV for covering it. They were there and covered it. Kathy Bacchus was there. Brenda from the Curling Association was there as well. And so there were quite a lot of people there it was great to see, and it was great to have everybody in town. A great weekend. And Saturday night, the Anglican Church held the coldest night of the year, when it wasn't the coldest night of the year. I think it was warmer than tonight is, but they raised $1,000 for, the money is going to I believe the IWK and something else, which I've forgotten, but they raised over $1,000, the Youth and Family Ministry, which was awesome. So thank you very much to that committee that raised the money and the Anglican Church that hosted it. It was a great night as well. And I'm still looking for bags for the food shelters. If anybody wants to drop them off to the town office, that would be great. So that's all I have to say. Oh, Councillor Gomeshel's going to chime in on me.
Like I said, I'm tired. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the Mental Wellness Committee and all the good work they're doing,
Yes.
and how great it was to have monies to donate in our community to this Living Works assist training, which I heard such great things about, that was hosted at the Curling Club, and so it was great. It was great to keep it local, and that was Alex Quinn's suggestion. Do it in your own town, and we've lost some really good people in recent years, and so hopefully that donation will help bring more of that training to town. So that's the committee that Councillor Harlan and Councillor Neal headed up. So
Yes.
kudos to them. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for participating. So with that, the next step is to go into closed session. And I don't have a clock up there, so somebody tell me the 8:55 p.m. Council will move into closed session per the Local Governance Act, Section 68(1)C, information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract, and Section 68(1)J, labor and employment matters, including the negotiation of collective agreements. 1, the lease agreement review. 2, pay scale review. 3, return to open session. And so I need a motion to go into, Deputy Mayor Neal, and seconded by Councillor Gumashell. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. So we'll give you a few minutes, and Flo, thank you very much for doing as you do always for CHCO TV.